That's right. You heard it. We were made to love. Self-love is an amazing thing. And it's your girl. It's your host with the most. Your favorite chick to chit chat with. Your girl, Miss Mo. Let's go. Let's get ready to dive into another episode of In My Feelings. Let's go. Aloha and kingdom greetings. Welcome to another episode of In My Feelings. It's your girl, your host with the most, your favorite chick to chit chat with, Ms. Mo. We're going to dive right on in. And today we're going to talk about, looking at my notes, how to step up when your levees are breaking. Listen, sometimes life gets so busy. It's so overwhelming, or it's just requiring a ton from you, and sometimes you feel like you're actually at that breaking point. They need more, there is more to be done, but you have no idea where you're going to get that more from. You have no idea where you're going to tap into that resource within yourself to pour out more. You have no idea when more is coming in for you, but there is still this requirement. There are still responsibilities. There are still things that have your name on it that you want to go after. You still have goals. You have a family who depends on you and needs you, whether that's a spouse, children, parents, grandparents, siblings, cousins. Some people take care of more than just them, their spouse, and their children. So you may have all types of people depending on you. And sometimes it's not just depending on you for financial resources or to provide them physical assistance to get on with their day-to-day, daily living. Sometimes, whether you know it or not, they're depending on you to be the one that makes it. They're depending on you to be the one that builds this great life. They're depending on you to be the one to come up with the invention that gets the entire family out of whatever life you all have been living. Sometimes there are people secretly pulling on you and rooting for you that you don't even know about. They may never like a post. They may never comment. They may never show up to anything it is that you're doing, but they are secretly not hating, contrary to popular belief. They are expecting you to win. They are expecting you to go further so that it proves something. Sometimes your family is depending on you to be the one to take the family name further, to continue on. You've seen it in movies all the time where the family has this huge empire or company or family business. Maybe it's not Fortune 500 or Fortune 100, but it's a family mom and pop business is what they may call it. A small convenience store. But that convenience store, the whole community is depending on to be successful and make that thing happen. Well, you being their child, they're expecting you someday to take over so that they can retire and live life. They've worked hard to build this thing for the family name. So they're expecting you to be just as proud, just as invested, and take that and run with it. So sometimes we're carrying responsibilities known and unknown, expectations known and unknown. We have cheerleaders known and unknown. We even have haters known and unknown. We have a lot on our plates. And sometimes you wake up, let me talk about me. You wake up in the morning and you be like, not today. Is there anybody out there watching this that has ever said, I'm over this adulting thing. I want to cancel my subscription. I've received enough issues in this thing called life. It's not that you want to give up. It's not that you want to end your life or anything. But sometimes you just want to take all your responsibilities and press pause. So the question is, how do I step up when I feel like I'm at my breaking point? How do I step up when I feel like my levees are breaking? Sometimes you feel like they're broke and everything's flooding and just everywhere, all over the place. And it's up to you to clean it up, to regather it, to pull it together, to put things back in their proper place, to determine what that proper place is. So how do you do that when you feel like you have nothing left inside? I'm not going to tell you to just keep going. I'm not going to tell you to just keep pushing, because the fact of the matter is, even if I told you that, it still doesn't tell you what to do. See, sometimes we say things because they seem like the right thing to say. They seem like the deep thing to say. This must be what God would want to be said in this situation. But the problem is, the person you're speaking to, keep in mind, they're already at a place where they just have no clue. They don't know what else to do. In them, they feel like they have nothing left to give. So how do you tell them to keep going? What does keep going look like? How do they keep going? Well, first, what you want to do is breathe. Second, you want to remind yourself that everything is going to be how it's supposed to be if you align yourself with what you're supposed to be doing. I know that sounds generic. I know it sounds real general, but the fact of the matter is, depending on what it is you're doing and what it's attached to determines what those steps look like. There's not a generic formula for life. There's not a generic formula for success. You have to assess, seek, listen, hear, trust, and obey God. If you're a believer, if what you're doing is something that God has given you to do, then He has given you everything you need to do it. Our scripture tells us that He won't put more on us than we can bear. However, what ends up happening is oftentimes we add more to it. Oftentimes we allow others to add more to it. So that's where the overwhelming comes from. Or if you're like me, you're super analytical, so you overthink most of the things that you have to do. Maybe it'll help you to write down all of the things that you have to do. There is something about seeing it on a piece of paper that takes it out of my mind, feeling like I have to consistently think about it. And when something is done, it feels good to take a permanent marker and draw a line through it, reminding myself that this is done. This is not something we have to think about. This is not something we have to consider. Sorry, guys, my tripod is starting to act a little crazy. Gonna have to do some maintenance on it, but I still wanted to be obedient and get this message out to you guys. So you want to take a deep breath. Remember that it's going to be what it's supposed to be if you're doing what you're supposed to do. Find out what you're supposed to be doing. Try writing out all of your responsibilities, and then you may have to reprioritize some things. Maybe you're trying to do too much all at once. And if you just reassess some things, some of the things you have on your plate aren't even for you to do. Or maybe it's the way you're getting it done. There's always multiple ways to do some things. You know, they say it's more than one way to skin a cat. Well, that's the same may reign true for what it is that you have to do. So maybe your way of doing it, maybe how you've been handling it, is what needs to also be reassessed. Pay attention to your process. Pay attention to patterns in your life. What you need to do, again, is not a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's multiple things. There are plenty of things you can do and ways you can get to it. But one thing you must always do, remain prayerful and take good care of yourself. I don't care who needs you and what they need done. If you're not taking care of you, you're not going to be able to get anything done. And what good does it do those who are dependent on you to not be here when you still could have been here? Eat healthier. Drink plenty of water. Go to the bathroom when you have to go. Sorry about continuously adjusting this camera. I promise I'm going to fix it. But do what you have to do and remember to take good care of yourself. Take mental breaks. Remember the thing I told you guys to do called Take 10? Have you been taking your 10? Remember, taking 10 takes you on pause from everything. Do something that allows your mind to be free. Sing, dance, recite poetry, write poetry, journal, stare at the wall, look out of the window at the lovely things around you. If you stay in an area that's not so beautiful, get in your car, drive somewhere that is. Walk the park. I hear people talking about how they love water. It's soothing for them. Well, I know things are kind of bad outside, but Maybe there's a water fountain that you can sit in your car and just listen to it, not on somebody else's property. People are real suspicious nowadays, and while you're just trying to enjoy the beauty that they set out there for people to enjoy, it may cost you a trip to a place you don't want to be. So find a way. But whatever you do, it is on you to do what's on you to do. But the only way you get to do that is by taking good care of yourself, remaining faithful and true to yourself, your morals, your values. Don't compromise those things to get things done. Because people will offer to do things for you for certain things. And sometimes those certain things go against your morals, your values, your principles. Don't compromise this. It's not worth it. It's not, even though it takes something off your plate. So you want to reprioritize, you want to reassess and make sure that they're really your things to handle and not someone else's. You want to make sure that you're not carrying false burdens. Oh my goodness, there's so many things to unpack here. First of all, why are your levees at the point of feeling like they want to break? Or why is it that life has gotten to be so overwhelming for you? I'm just going to hold this. Excuse me, everybody. But you have to figure that out, because in that may be your answer for getting things done. Again, sometimes we have these goals and our current financial situations aren't what we want them to be. So we'll go take on 2 and 3 jobs because that's what people do. You take on multiple jobs. You got 12 side hustles, right? This how we gonna make it. You ain't really about it if you ain't doing 50 million things to see it come to pass. Oh, this grind and hustle mentality. It's not the only way. It is not the only way. You have to take care of yourself. Listen, I'm too old to be working 3 and 4 jobs. My mind, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm squinting a little bit here. I stare at a computer all day reviewing documents. And by the time I get off work, I'm like, because I can't really see. I'm squinting at everything. That's unhealthy. And so now I'm supposed to do a second job. I can barely see. What else am I going to do when I get off? So you tend to want to relax. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm rambling and repeating. So, because every time I say one thing, I think about another way that we got here. So now let's start over. Number 1, identify why your levees are about to break. Relieve the pressure. How do you relieve the pressure? By reassessing everything that you've taken on. How much of it is really yours and how much is it just things you picked up along the way because maybe they were attached to what was yours. Just like when you get ready to do laundry, if you don't separate when you take your clothes off, you may have to spend a little time going through everything and separating them. This is light, this is dark, this is white. Maybe you separate different. This is hot, this is cold, this is warm. You know what I mean? Whatever your separation process is, you have to separate. Determine what goes to whom. What part are you carrying that was really God's portion? But you've made yourself the God in this situation. Unhealthy. Not getting you anywhere. But worn out. And sometimes we're doing so many things that aren't even ours to do. And then we don't have anything left to do what really is ours to do. Because we were built for what we were built for. But when we take on other things and we add unnecessary wear and tear on ourselves. And then we're like, God, but help me. He's like, I didn't tell you to take it on. I keep telling you to let it go. I keep telling you to move on. I keep telling you to walk away. That's another thing. Don't let your heart kill you. Sometimes it's hard to say no. Sometimes it's hard. You feel like, oh, as a believer, as a Christian, it's the Christian thing to do. It may very well be the Christian thing to do, but are you the Christian that's supposed to do it? Everything isn't for everybody, and you are not the only one God uses. Sometimes you see it to pray. Sometimes you saw it because you was somewhere you ain't had no business being and you just happen to see it. So it's okay to pray. And keep going. If that's your portion. Because if you get in the way, sometimes you make situations even worse. So again, find out why your levees are breaking. Relieve the pressure. You may have to separate what's yours and what's not yours. You don't need to carry any false burdens. What else did we say? We may need to reprioritize. Maybe you've been working on this, but it's so overwhelming and so big. There's so many pieces and parts, but you have so many other things going on in your mind. If you put that thing on pause for 5 minutes, you can knock out 10 small things, and you've just got those things done. So you're no longer having to think about those things. Now you have more time, more space to focus on the one big thing, because you don't have that thing and the 10 other things going on. So you may have to reprioritize. All of this is done through a reassessing. And just because it's a doesn't mean you got it wrong in the first place. Other things could have been added along the journey, and you just had to now reassess what was already your schedule or your agenda or your plan or your time frame, because there are other things included. Again, there's no generic formula that you can just take it and slap on life and call it one. Figuring it out may require speaking to someone. Sometimes you've already handled things and gotten them out the way, but you're still carrying mentally the weight of it. Even though it's no longer something you have to do or handle, you're still thinking about it on and on and on daily. But you don't know how to let it go. Tell yourself, this thing is done. It was what it was. I learned what I learned. Now let me keep on moving. This is how you step up when your levees are breaking. Give yourself permission to take care of yourself. Do what you can. Pray about everything and let God do his part. Everything isn't on us. That's all I have, and I wanted to share with you guys. I hope something in this message touches you, helps you, assists you on your lovely journey, and is food for your soul and helps take care of our community. What is our community? It's those that we encounter on a regular basis. I don't just mean the community you live in. We'll unpack that some more later, but we definitely want to do that. Until next time, ladies and gents, thank you for joining me with my jacked up tripod today on another episode of In My Feelings. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share with others, leave comments, email me, talk back to me, let me know how things are going in your life, and maybe there's some things you want to discuss and talk about. Let me know. I'll do some research, ask some people, get us some assistance, and we'll talk about it. So that is all for today. Until next time, as always, keep it kingdom. Thanks for joining me for another episode of In My Feelings with your girl, your host with the most, your favorite chick to chit chat with, Miss Mo. Have a great one. Bye. Here we go with this clicker.